You know that feeling on a Tuesday night? You're standing in the grocery aisle, looking at a bag of organic coffee that costs maybe $3 more than the generic brand, and you find yourself doing this intense, high-stakes mental math. You're checking your banking app under the flash of those harsh fluorescent lights, wondering if those $3 are going to be the thing that makes your car insurance payment bounce next week. It's an exhausting way to live, right? That constant, low-grade hum of anxiety in the back of your head. But then, you see someone else, maybe a coworker, someone you know makes the exact same salary as you, and they're over in the wine section picking out a nice Cabernet, looking totally unbothered. It's a weird paradox. You both pull in $60,000 a year. You both sit in the same gray cubicles or attend the same Zoom calls. You both lose about the same amount to taxes every month. Yet, your lives look like they belong in different zip codes. My name is Benjamin, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades. Honestly, I've realized that the difference between broke and rich on the same income isn't usually about luck or some secret inheritance. It's about a million tiny, invisible decisions that happen before you even swipe your card. Today, I want to pull back the curtain on that. We're going to look at two people, let's call them Mark and Sarah. They both earn 60 grand. But while Mark is drowning in lifestyle creep and credit card interest, Sarah is building a literal fortress of financial freedom. By the end of this, you're probably going to see yourself in one of them, maybe a bit of both, and hopefully, you'll see exactly how to flip the switch from one to the other. It's not about deprivation, it's about a perspective shift that most people just never get taught. Basically, most of us grow up believing this lie that if I just made $10,000 more, all my problems would vanish. We think there's this magical threshold, maybe it's $60,000, maybe it's $100,000, where suddenly, the stress evaporates. But here's the cold, hard truth: your expenses will always grow to meet your income unless you're actively fighting it. Mark is a classic example. When he got his $60,000 offer, he felt like a king. He'd been making $40,000, so this felt like a massive windfall. What did he do? He did what we all do. He upgraded. He got a nicer apartment because I work hard, I deserve it. He traded his reliable old Honda for a leased SUV because he needed something professional. He started saying yes to every happy hour. You see, Mark's problem isn't his income, it's his relationship with his future self. To Mark, that $60,000 is money to be spent. To Sarah, who earns the same amount, that money is a tool to be deployed. Sarah kept her old car. She stayed in her slightly too small apartment for one more year. She looked at that $20,000 raise not as spending money, but as freedom seed money. It's a subtle shift, right? But while Mark is working to pay for his past decisions, the lease, the credit card from that vacation, the high rent, Sarah is working to buy her future. The first major point I want to drive home is that being rich is often what you don't see. It's the money not spent on a depreciating hunk of metal in the driveway. If you want to know why someone is broke on $60,000, look at the big three: housing, transportation, and food. This is where the battle is won or lost. Mark lives in the cool part of town. He pays $1,800 a month for a studio because he wants to be near the action. Between that, his $500 car payment, and his $150 insurance, he's already burned through nearly 60% of his take-home pay before he's even bought a loaf of bread. Honestly, it's a math problem he can't win. He's essentially working the first 3 weeks of every month just to exist. Sarah, on the other hand, made a socially difficult choice. She lives 20 minutes further out, or maybe she has a roommate. Her rent is $1,100. Her car is paid off. By keeping those big three costs low, she has an extra $1,200 every single month that Mark doesn't have. Think about that. $1,200 a month. That's $14,400 a year. Over 5 years, without even considering investment growth, Sarah has $72,000. Mark has, well, he has some cool Instagram photos from the bars near his expensive apartment. It's not that Mark is bad or lazy. He's just falling for the cultural script that says your lifestyle should match your paycheck. But if your lifestyle matches your paycheck, you're always going to be one bad Tuesday away from a disaster. I've noticed this thing, and I'm guilty of it too, believe me, where we trade our wealth for tiny bits of time. I'm talking about the $15 DoorDash delivery fee because we're too tired to cook. The $7 latte because we didn't wake up 5 minutes earlier. The subscription we forgot to cancel. For someone like Mark, these microleaks are the silent killers. He views $10 here and $20 there as insignificant. But wealth is built on the margin. If you're earning $60,000, your disposable income, the money left after you pay for your basic survival, is actually quite small. When you spend $40 on a delivered pizza, you're not just spending $40. You're spending 2 or 3 hours of your life that you spent sitting in that office chair. Sarah treats her money like a limited resource, like water in a desert. She preps her meals not because she loves Tupperware, but because she knows that $300 a month saved on lunches is the difference between a looming sense of dread and a growing brokerage account. It's funny, you know? We often mock the latte factor advice. People say, oh, a coffee isn't going to make you a millionaire. And they're right, one coffee won't. But the discipline required to manage the small things is the exact same discipline required to manage the big things. If you can't manage a $5 cup of coffee, how are you going to manage a $500,000 investment portfolio? We have to talk about debt. It's the elephant in the room. Mark has good debt and bad debt, or so he thinks. He has some student loans, a car note, and a revolving balance on a travel rewards card. He thinks he's winning because he gets points, but he's paying 22% interest on a $3,000 balance. Basically, Mark is paying a poverty tax. Every time he buys something on credit and doesn't pay it off, he's making that item 20% more expensive. He's voluntarily giving his $60,000 salary back to the banks. Sarah, meanwhile, is obsessed with zero. She hates owing anyone anything. If she can't pay cash, she doesn't buy it. By avoiding interest, she's essentially giving herself a 20% raise compared to Mark. I remember once, I was talking to a friend who was complaining about being broke, and they were literally wearing a $200 pair of sneakers they'd bought on Buy Now, Pay Later. It's such a trap. We're so eager to look like we've made it that we ensure we never actually do. Sarah realizes that the rich version of a $60,000 life doesn't involve impressing strangers at the mall. It involves the peace of mind that comes from owning your own time. One of the biggest differences I've seen is how these two people handle their payday. Mark gets paid on Friday. He sees that big number in his account, feels a rush of dopamine, and immediately goes out for a celebratory dinner. He pays his bills as they come due, and whatever is left at the end of the month, which is usually about $47.52, is what he saves. Sarah doesn't trust herself. She knows she's human. So, she's automated everything. The second her paycheck hits, $500 goes to her 401k, $300 goes to a high-yield savings account, and $200 goes into an index fund. She never even sees that money. It's gone before she can tempt herself with a new pair of shoes or a gadget she doesn't need. She lives on what's left. This is paying yourself first, and it's the closest thing to a financial superpower that exists. Because Sarah has adapted her lifestyle to a $45,000 spendable income, she's building wealth in the background while she sleeps. Mark is trying to build wealth with leftovers, but in our modern world, there are never any leftovers. The system is designed to take every penny you don't intentionally protect. Here's where the rich versus broke reality really hits home. It's not during the good times, it's when things go wrong. Let's say both Mark and Sarah get a flat tire and find out their transmission is shot. It's a $2,500 repair. For Mark, this is a catastrophe. It goes on the credit card. It stresses him out. He loses sleep. He snaps at his partner. It takes him 18 months to pay off that repair because of the interest. He feels like the world is out to get him. For Sarah, it's an annoyance. She has an emergency fund. She writes a check, complains about it for 10 minutes, and moves on with her life. The rich version of $60,000 is really just the prepared version. It's having a buffer between you and the chaos of the world. When you have that buffer, you make better decisions. You don't take a job you hate just because you're desperate. You don't settle for less than you're worth. Wealth, even in small amounts, gives you leverage. I want to take a quick aside here, because I think it's important. A lot of this staying broke on a decent salary is actually about loneliness and the fear of missing out. Mark's friends all make similar money, and they all spend it the same way. If Mark says, "Hey, I can't go to that $100 brunch," he feels like an outcast. He feels like he's failing at being an adult. We have this weird social contract where we all agree to stay broke together so nobody feels uncomfortable. Sarah had to deal with that, too. She had to be the boring one for a while. She had to suggest hiking instead of expensive dinners. But here's the thing, after a few years, her friends started noticing she wasn't stressed. They noticed she bought a house while they were still complaining about rent hikes. Choosing the rich path on a modest salary requires a certain amount of social courage. You have to be okay with people not getting it. You have to be okay with looking broke so that you can actually be wealthy. So, where does this leave us? If you're sitting there making $60,000 or $40,000 or $80,000 and you feel like you're running on a treadmill that's going just a little too fast, I want you to take a breath. The difference between Mark and Sarah isn't intelligence. It's not that Sarah is some math genius who loves spreadsheets. It's simply that Sarah decided she valued her peace more than her image. Being rich on $60,000 isn't about having a gold-plated life. It's about the power of saying no. Being able to walk away from a toxic situation because you have 6 months of expenses in the bank. It's about the power of time. Knowing that your money is working for you in the stock market, doubling every 7 to 10 years, while you're out for a walk or playing with your kids. And honestly, it's about the power of sleep. Not having that 3 a.m. panic attack about how you're going to cover the rent next month. When we look at Mark and Sarah 5 years down the line, the gap is staggering. Mark is still where he started, maybe with a slightly higher salary but definitely with higher debt. Sarah has a 6-figure net worth. Same job. Same hours. Same taxes. It really comes down to this: are you spending your money to show people you have it, or are you using your money to ensure you always will? If you're in Mark's shoes right now, don't beat yourself up. Honestly, most of us were never taught this. We were taught to be good consumers, not good owners. But you can start flipping the script today. It starts with one small thing. Maybe it's canceling that one subscription you never use. Maybe it's deciding that your next car will be a used one paid for in cash. Maybe it's just opening a high-yield savings account and putting $20 in it right now. The goal isn't to be a miser or to never have fun again. The goal is to be intentional. Because when you're intentional with $60,000, you're richer than the person making $150,000 who spends $151,000. Wealth isn't a fixed number, it's a ratio. It's the gap between what you earn and what you need to live. If you can keep that gap wide, you've already won the game. You're free. And honestly, there's no better feeling in the world than that quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're okay. Would you like me to help you map out a simple, automated Sarah-style budget based on your current take-home pay?